be in it.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa afdal salatu wa tamma taslim ala khairil khalq. Sayyid al-Mursaleen, Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, amma ba'd. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم خير الناس من ينفع الناس وقال عليه أفضل الصلاة وتم التسليم إنما بعثت لأتمم مكارم الأخلاق وكما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. My respected friends, brothers and sisters, I believe we do have ladies as well? No.
All at home.
No ladies. Interesting. Without ladies, we wouldn't be here, right? Yeah. That should be kept in mind, yes. So, basically my language is English. My Madri Zuban is English. My Dini Zuban is Arabi, which is actually the language of all Muslims. Should be. And my Iltirari Zuban is Urdu. You know, if I have to speak in Urdu, then I do so, but I'm not very good at that. If you don't believe me, ask my wife. She's always making fun of my Urdu, and rightly so, because I haven't properly learned Urdu. That's, I'm sorry to say that, but can I speak? It's comfortable for me to speak in English or Arabic. I don't think Arabic is going to work. So will English be okay?
Yes.
I mean, if I attempt in Urdu, it will be more of a comedy session than a religious session. So, I have recited one ayat of the Holy Quran, which probably all of you have heard. مَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. How many people have heard that ayah? How many people pretty much know the meaning of that ayah? I think you probably would know it. Yeah. What's the meaning of that ayah?
The purpose of creation is actually ibadah.
For ibadah. I have not created the jinn and men except for, and the Arabic word is illa liya'budun. Now it's impossible to translate this because number one, it's Allah's kalam. For example, a poet, can you translate Iqbal, for example? You know, can anyone, I mean, you could get the gist of the meaning of it, but will you get the feeling, the emotion, you know, the insight of Iqbal? No, you wouldn't get that unless you're Iqbal, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's kalam is not translatable in the sense that the entire meaning of what is, it's impossible. So therefore, even in tafsir, even in the Arabic language, we don't say this is a translation of the Quran. We say this is an attempt, a human attempt to try and bring into manifestation some of the meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has expressed in His book. Okay. Now in this very concise statement from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's explaining to us why we're here in this world, which is the dilemma of dilemmas. That's the dilemma of the world. What's my purpose of life? What am I here? What am I doing here? 99.9% of the people on the face of the earth have no clue. To the extent that many would tell you, particularly in the West, why am I, what's the point? I mean, we're here, I mean, is that necessary? Enjoy. Eat, drink, make merry, have a good time, and leave. No, we haven't been created. And this is significantly, this is an ayat which he has just read. Did you think we created you for nothing? Out of sport? In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had nothing better to do, so okay, let me play around and create some human beings in the universe. It's not like that. There's a definite, very extremely high purpose connected to the divine, you know, intentions. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains to us. And by the way, this objective, it's not capable for human beings to come to grips with this. I mean, if you ask a human being, why are you here? And why is the glass here? Everybody can understand that. A small child can understand it. What is the function of this microphone? You know, everybody understands that purpose. Everything around us has a purpose. We can see that. Did we think today, why am I here on the planet? What am I doing here? And you've only got one shot at it, by the way, folks. One time, one attempt. You don't get another. And when that attempt is going to end, we also have no clue. It could end now, it could end tonight, tomorrow, next year. We have a ticket, we have a reservation, nobody knows when it is. Coming, we know. Leaving, we have no clue. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I have not created the human being except for you, and we want to explain this liya'budun, because it's not simply ibadat, it's not simply worship, it's not ya'budun. This is a verbal construct in Arabic language. Lam is liya'bud. This is what we call lam al-ta'lil. This is telling us the purpose. The purpose is ya'budun. This is what we call fi'l mudariya in the Arabic language. It is a continuous tense. He didn't say for worship, not for ibadah. He said liya'budun. To be continuously engaged in servitude of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Continuously. That means, from the time we open our eyes, Alhamdulillah alladhi ahyana ba'dama amatana wa ilayhi an-nushur. How many know this dua? Everybody should know this dua. If you don't know this dua, learn it now. Who will intend to learn this dua, inshallah? Everybody. Because look, and it's such a beautiful thing, and it reminds us from the very moment we open our eyes, Alhamdulillah. Who is the one who gave us the ability now to open those eyes? Suppose he didn't. Suppose he kept the eyes closed. Who's going to open them? Suppose he took our soul in the night. Who's stopping? Alhamdulillah, the ahyan, brought me back to life, or brought us back to life, after he had caused us to die. You know, it's mentioned in hadith that sleep is the sister of death. And for many people, they go to sleep in the night and that's the end. And it is actually, you know, and your soul is, you know, kind of mu'allaq, it's kind of, you know, in suspension. And so every morning we wake up and we should be cognizant of that. I was, you know, in the threshold of leaving the planet and being taken away, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought me back to life. But ultimately, wa ilayhi an-nushur. But ultimately, I definitely will be going back to Allah. That's how we start our day. And then we end our day with what? Allahumma bismika amut inshallah. Inshallah ahya. Right? In the name of Allah, I am going to sleep. And actually he doesn't say sleep, I'm going to die. Remind us of death. So reminded of death in the beginning, we're reminded of death in the end of the day. So between that morning and between the time the time we open our eyes until the time we put our heads on our pillow, all moments in between should be ya'budun. Continuously engaged in the servitude of Allah. And ya'budun, it comes from abd. We all probably know the word abd. Understand abd? Slave. What does it mean a slave? Slave owns nothing. Neither himself, even if he's, you know, doing business or he's working or he's in a craft, that all belongs to his master. And even what he earns, it goes to his master. He owns nothing. That's our case. And the only true slave is the slave of Allah. You know, everything else is indirect. It's all, you know, kind of a fantasy, but the actual servitude, the actual slavery is to the one who really owns human beings, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He gave us life, gave us existence, gave us all that we have, and it all belongs to Him. Lillahi ma fis samawati wa ma fil ard. So it all belongs to Him. We are only custodians of our bodies, of our wealth, of our position, of our jobs, of our families, of our properties. Custodians. And everything mentioned and not mentioned, everything that's connected to us, we're going to be held accountable for. You know, I have another one of my pet projects also is holistic health, which we're not very cognizant of, particularly here in Pakistan, you know. A healthy way of living, a healthy way of eating, a healthy way of, you know, active lifestyle. Because this body, it's also, you know, in the West, you know, it's a big deal now. Why? for all the wrong reasons, you know. You know, you go to a gym and it's this toxic environment of, you know, me, you know. But actually, health for us is because we want to ya'budun. We want to serve in the best possible fashion. For that, you need vitality, you need strength, you need health, you need wellness. Because this body, in the end of the day, we're going to have to give account for that. Burke Company gives you a new Mercedes to drive around, you know, and you don't service it, you know. I don't think they give Mercedes. Maybe Toyota, maybe, or Suzuki Alto, maybe, I don't know, whatever. And regardless, you're supposed to take care of it, right? It's a company car, it doesn't belong to you. You start thinking it's my car, and you know, I don't service it, I put third-grade fuel in it, I don't change the oil, and within 6 months it breaks down. So how's that going to go? You're going to find yourself still working in Burke? I doubt it. Right? So on the day of judgment, we're going to have to, I gave you this beautiful body, did you take care of it? You know, no. So everything that we have, all of our existence, all the things that we have, and whatever we, you know, is under our control, we're accountable for that. So ila liya'budun means that the whole day and night, every action, human being is a factory of action. He's always, or she or he is always doing something, outwardly or inwardly. Eyes are looking, ears are hearing, tongue is speaking, mind is thinking, heart is feeling. These are all actions, these are all amal. These are all activities. And all these activities come under one of two classifications. Either they're amal salih, good action, or amal talih, bad action. Good action taking us to Jannah, bad action taking us to Jahannam. Now, we probably have heard things along these lines, but what we probably don't realize is that it's a 24-hour continuum. We tend to, when I say we Muslims, we tend to think that, well, Islam, yeah, it's, you know, salat, zakat, hajj, umrah, dhikr, tilawat. Now when I get to the office, this is dunya. This is another playing field. I'm out of that sphere. I'm now in, it's me, my, me, mera. Huh? I'm in my craft. I'm in my profession. You know, it's like we've now stripped ourselves from all of these, you know, from all these connections of deen, and now we're free to do whatever we want. In other words, we're slaves of Allah in the masjid or in the context of these ibadats, which are you know, the ritual forms of worship. And when we find ourselves in the context of business or in the workplace or in the market, or on holidays, or whatever, we're free. Free men, free women. We do what we want, spend how we want, earn how we want, see what we want, hear what we want, do what we want, speak what we want. Very dangerous. Now, our deen is, and we've probably all heard that, our deen is a complete system of life. And that's exactly what it is. So that means while we're sitting here, there is rules and regulations. Our sitting here, whether I'm talking or you're listening, it's all under that scheme. And so it's either going to be counted a good intention or a good action or a bad action. And that requires three things. Number one, an intention. What intention am I doing? Whatever I'm doing. Just like in salat, without an intention, there's no salat. With a bad intention, we have a bad salat. I'm praying because Burke is watching. How is that salat? So you should have said, I intend 4 rakats for Burke Company. It's not going to work. If those 4 rakats are for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it's acceptable. So intention, just as in salat, the intention of my coming to the workplace. Did we ever think about that? What intention did we come to work with today? Do we have an intention? Are we just like, you know, automatically, okay, wake up and, you know, go to work. Why? I have to, you know. If I don't work, I don't get a paycheck. If I don't get a paycheck, I don't eat. That's it. That's why everybody does that. They do that in America, they do that in China, they do that in Russia, communists, atheists, Jews, Christians, everybody does that. What's the difference between our going to work and somebody else's going to work? What should be the difference? What's the overriding intention for everything that a Muslim does? Who knows? You all know. What?
Ibadah.
And why do we do ibadat? For the pleasure of?
Allah.
Who? For Burke? For my parents?
The purpose of
Hamara Barai? No, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So how many of us left from our house this morning for the pleasure of Allah? We came to work today. Well, had we made that intention, then our whole work day would be in our account of good deeds, provided we fill the other conditions. So, one of our great ulama, he wrote a whole book on intentions called Al-Madkhal, Ibn al-Hajj. You seen that book? 2 volumes thick like this. And Ibn Abi Jamrah, he was a great Maliki faqih, Mufassir, and he used to say in Sufi. He said, you know, people are losing a lot. Suppose we look at our balance sheet and we say that we're losing, you know, daily, millions of rupees. I mean, we would be astounded, we would be startled, we'd be shocked. And we'd take remedial measures, right? We would fix the situation. We're losing millions of hasanat every day because we spend the whole day without any intention. We spend 6, 8, 10 hours in the workplace or in our crafts or professions, and we have no intention whatsoever, other than like everybody else in the world. So, you know, أَنَا عِنْدَ ظُنِّ عَبْدِي بِي. So Allah says, however you think about me and what I should do for you, I'll do it. You want something to eat, you want a place to live, and you want, you know, a little mata of this world, okay, you'll get it. That's what we get out of our going to work every day. Suppose we say, I'm going to work for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala today. And why wouldn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with you going to work? It's a halal work. You have an intention to please Allah by doing what? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes people who provide for themselves and provide for their families. He doesn't like people who go around begging or cheating or lying or stealing, which is what most of the people do today. So somebody may say, oh Allah, I want your pleasure by going to the workplace, going to my job, earning a halal rizq, and spending that halal rizq moderately, according to necessity, on myself, on my family, on my relatives, and whatever is left, using it in good causes. So imagine the barakah you're going to get. Right? Imagine the khair. So all those hours that we're spending at the workplace is now with an intention of pleasing Allah. So that comes under ya'budun. We don't understand that. But our ancestors did. That's why their marketplaces, their professional places, they were all places of deen. It was like the masjid. The same activities were going on. I remember when I first became a Muslim, and I went to Saudi Arabia, it was 1971. Medina Munawwara, after Salatul Fajr, all the shopkeepers would open up their shops. They don't go to sleep after Fajr, by the way. Yeah. Karachi opens up the market, what? When I came to Karachi, you know, I wanted to, when I first came to Karachi, I was in Bin Noori town. I was sent as a teacher there to Bin Noori town. So we needed a washing machine. So I told some of the students, I said, look, we need to go early to the market, you know, and get, you know, settle that thing because, you know, we need this washing machine. So how early can we go? So somebody said, well, around 12 o'clock. What? 12 o'clock? What do you mean? We have to go there early because classes start around 8 o'clock, so maybe we can go, you know, around 8 o'clock or so. You know, markets open around 8, 9, the maximum. And nobody's there. Nobody's there until 12 o'clock. I didn't believe him. I said, it's impossible. Where in the world does anybody do that? You know? So we agreed on 10 o'clock. It was totally empty. Ghost town. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, "Burqa fi ummati min bukuriha." The barakat in my ummah comes in the early hours. You know, in California, before Fajr, the highways are packed. By 6 o'clock, it's rush hour in the morning. South Africa, 4 o'clock in the morning, they're out and moving. And 6 o'clock, everything's shut down. After 6, 7, highways are free. I usually have a flight from California. It comes around 12 o'clock. I usually get out of the immigration, all that. It's about 12:30, 1 o'clock. It's like full daytime. 2 o'clock in the morning. Everybody is running around. Little kids. How in the world can you have a tartib? How are you going to get up for Fajr? What about the night ibadah? What about the barakat in the early day? You would just ruin. We've ruined the tartib which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us to follow to maximize, our benefit in this world. So anyway, so suppose we make this intention. So which of us are going to make this intention from tomorrow? From now. Why wait until tomorrow? From now, I'm making intention now that I've come here for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to acquire halal rizq, to do good for people, to do a good service. I hope Burque is doing good things, beneficial for people. I'm assuming so. Inshallah they are. So I'm going to be part of that good process. And I know that there's a lot of charitable things that the company does and what have you. So intend to be part of that whole process. Help yourself, help your family. While you're here in the workplace, your relationships with your colleagues, with your superiors, with your subordinates, whoever it is, all of these interactions are also being scrutinized. The conversation that we have, or the way in which we deal with our colleagues, the way in which we're dealing with our superiors or our subordinates, it's all being scrutinized. It's all going to be taken into account. كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. Particularly those who have some managerial position over others. You are actually shepherds of a flock. They're like your family. You're going to be held accountable for them. Did I look after them? Not just looking after them, they produce a lot of productivity, they generate a lot of revenue, and we made a lot of money. Did we work with our people to develop them as human beings, as good Muslims, as people who get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That's the main concern that we should be having. We use the workplace as a kind of format, as a kind of platform for a specific way and system of acquiring Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure. Because in every jaiz activity that human beings engage in, there is a way to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With proper intention, as I mentioned. Secondly, it's following Sharia. Somebody owns a casino and says, well, let's have ta'aleem in the casino and we'll have a bayan, Shaykh will come and give, and we'll try and, make a Sharia compliant casino. I mean, it's not going to work, folks. The thing in its asl is batil, so you can't, change that. So the endeavor and the activities have to be Sharia compliant, and as a result of that, alhamdulillah, this is something we didn't see. When I first came to Pakistan, you would never see a Sharia department in any company, or in a bank, or anything like that. Alhamdulillah, so there's progress going on. So, intention. Number 2, compliance to Sharia. Following the rules of Sharia. So if I have a proper intention, what I'm doing is following Sharia, and we look into the Sunnah. How do we embellish that activity? By taking on the characteristics of the Prophet ﷺ in regards to that particular activity. So if we combine these 3 elements, everything that we're doing here, my discussion, my business meeting, my sales, my sales, pitch, to my client. When you talk to your client, do you have his goodwill? Do you have his good wishes in mind? Or do we have his pocketbook in mind? A Muslim wants for his brother what he wants for himself. لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. No person has a true iman as a Muslim unless he loves for his brother what he wants for himself. You know, how many business people would you find, like somebody, I have a product, I meet a client, and it appears to me that this is really not the right product for that client. My competitor, so-and-so, he has a product which is more suitable for that client. Nasiha would tell me, look, my product is not suitable for you. His product is suitable for you. My rizq is muqaddar. I'm going to get what I'm going to get. He's going to get what he's going to get. That's not the issue. The issue is, in these transactions and interactions, are we pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not? And if we're pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, be certain that the amount of barakat and khair that we're going to get in the sustenance that Allah gives us is going to be highly significant. So niyat, following Sharia, and understanding the Sunnah, which means we're going to have to become knowledgeable. We can't follow deen if we don't know it, right? And therefore, talab al-ilm farida ala kulli Muslim. Seeking knowledge is compulsory on every Muslim. What does that mean? It means seeking knowledge is compulsory on every Muslim. To what extent, however? To the extent that you're able to live a life of servitude according to your particular context. It doesn't mean that every Muslim has to become a mufti. It doesn't mean every Muslim has to become a mufassir. It doesn't mean every Muslim has to be, you know, a philosopher and know all the details of theology. It means that the Muslim, in everything that he does, in his 24 hours a day, he must learn how to do that according to the rules of Sharia and the light of Sunnah an-Nabawiyyah. Is that clear? This is what we call ilmul hal. This is the knowledge which is fard. It's not like it's a nice thing to know. It's fard. You have to know it. Just like you have to learn, so you have to pray, you have to learn to pray. It is fard to pay zakat, so it's fard to learn the rules of zakat. It's fard to be just, and so we have to learn the rules of just. It's fard to fulfill your obligations as an employee or an employer or a worker or a craftsman according to the rules of Sharia. So it's fard on you to learn those things. And alhamdulillah, in Pakistan, it's quite easy to do that. Relatively so. Now even we have online, you know, methods in which doing this. So that nobody has an excuse, I didn't know. You didn't know because you didn't make an effort to find out. So every Muslim must learn how to live a life of Ubudiyyah. Everything that he does, how to deal with his family, how to conduct one's behavior in the workplace, how we earn, how we spend, even our building, even our clothing. All these things, there's rules and regulations. There's ways of sunnah. And if we learn these things and apply these things, then our whole life becomes a life of servitude. How much time do we have, by the way?
Almost.
Huh?
Almost.
Almost, or ho gaya?
5. So we have to finish at 12:45.
Huh? 12:45. Okay. So, I think you get the idea. The message I'm trying to give you is that our 24 hours a day, we have a system, we have a way of life. It's called Islam. What does Islam mean, by the way? What does Islam mean?
Peace.
No.
Submission.
It means submission. Yes, you won't get peace without submission, that's for sure. Salama, in Arabic language, salama, that means peace, or, you know. But Islam comes from submission, surrender. Aslama. You know, like if, when the thief here in Karachi puts a gun at your head, what do you do? Aslama. You submit. Because unless, you know, unless you're more clever and you've been watching a lot of Tom Cruise movies and you're able to do a Mission Impossible on him. Otherwise, you're probably going to submit. And so, lillahi mathal al-a'la. So for us, you know, we have in front of us, you know, the cognizance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching us, He's hearing us, He's seeing us. And so therefore, the connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, without that connection, without that cognizance, without dhikrullah, wala dhikrullahi akbar, the remembrance of Allah is the greatest thing. Because we can only have this system in a person or in a family, in a community, on the planet, when we have the cognizance and the consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And from that comes taqwa, from that comes tawakkul, from that comes sabr. All these, therefore it really astounds me that people are complaining, well, in the world we see this dhulm, we see this tyranny, we see this oppression. Of course. Why would people of authority not oppress? What would cause them to be just? What would cause them to be, merciful? Unless they believe that they're accountable. Human being is such, he can be an angel, he can be above the angels, and he can be worse than the devils. And it's all because of the presence of the cognizance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the cognizance of an accountability in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People don't have that anymore. So you can't expect human behavior from people who have disconnected them from the human system of life, which is called Islam. Having said all of that, I want to also highlight the importance of which we said, we talked about ibadat, the traditional, or what we call the traditional ritual forms of worship. There's another opposite, trend, which says, well, Islam is all about, service, is all about living a good life and all that. And ibadat, salat and dhikr and tilawat and all these things, they're good, but that's not the real thing. The real thing is huquq al-ibad, help other people. Why do we help other people? Because they're Allah's creation. The pleasure of Allah is actually what we seek when we seek to serve His creation. We have to understand that. And if we have that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that has trained us to be that mentality, that mindset and heart set of Ubudiyyah, then we'll act like abd. We will act like servants and slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is why the 5 pillars of Islam are what? Kalima. Saying this kalima. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Then salat. Then zakat. Then Hajj, then Ramadan. These are all ibadat. Where's muamalat? Where's muasharat? Where's halal haram? Where's tabligh? Where's jihad? Where's hukuma? Where is it? Bunya al-Islam ala khams. Nabi Sallallahu says Islam is built on 5 things. Nabi Sallallahu didn't say Islam is 5 things. He said it's built on 5 things. They're all ibadat. Why? Why not Islam built on jihad and tabligh and, siyasa or social justice? These are all parts of Islam. But Islam didn't say Islam is built on that. These are connected to the building of Islam. Islam is built on these foundations, which are all ibadat, because we are here to be abd. We are here to be slaves. What is going to train us to be slaves? When we say Allahu Akbar, what are we doing? Every part of it's supposedly, or hopefully, if we're doing it right, when we say Allahu Akbar and go and perform takbir at-tahrim, what do we call it? Takbir at-tahrim. Everything other than the total focus inwardly and outwardly on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and connecting with Him in salat becomes haram. You can't talk, you can't eat, everything that was halal becomes haram except connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we perform salat like that, from Allahu Akbar to Assalamu alaikum, imagine the transformation that's taking place 5 times a day at least, along with nawafil, along with sunan, along with... A total transformation is going to take place. The cognizance of Allah, the concentration, a training of outward limbs and the training of the mind and the heart and the entire interior of the human being. It's all being trained to be a slave and a servant and obedient to Allah. And embellishing that, tilawat of Quran, the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, salat ala nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, istighfar in the end of the night, etc. All of these activities, paying of our zakat, giving of charity, fasting in the month of Ramadan, and Hajj, that comprehensive agenda of total Ubudiyyah for an extended period of time with the whole Muslim community all over the world. All of that is to train us to be give us that mind and heart set that we are the slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, enabling us to live a life of Ubudiyyah. that's what our deen is about. And so I would invite myself, first of all, and all of us, inshallah, to make an intention to live a life of Ubudiyyah, which means we're going to have to learn the life of Ubudiyyah and live the life of Ubudiyyah and spread the life of Ubudiyyah. So everyone's ready for that. I'm sure you are. That's why you're here. And as Muslims, that's what we're all about. So I would just give can we ask if there's any questions? I don't say I have answers, but if there's any questions or anything that we need to clarify, so we can have a couple of minutes for that. But of course, Burque is a very intelligent organization, very samajhdar log. So I think everything has been digested thoroughly. Or if not, at least you have taken. It may take time to digest. But if there's any questions, any comments, no? So سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد لا اله الا انت نستغفرك ونتوب اليك الحمد لله رب العالمين عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزينة عرش مداد كلماتي على لا نرسي ثناء عليك انت كما اثنيت على نفسك اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى ال سيدنا محمد كما صليت وسلمت وباركت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد اللهم ربنا ظلمنا انفسنا وان لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين لا اله الا انت سبحانك انا كنا من الظالمين اللهم اهدنا واهد بنا واجعلنا سببا لمن اهتدى اللهم اهدنا الصراط المستقيم الصراط الذين انعمت عليهم من النبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين وحسن اولئك رفيقا اللهم ربنا آتنا نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها مولاها ربنا تقبل منا من كل من أوصانا بالدعاء إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصل اللهم وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما